and welcome to Property Mastermind Podcast, episode 238. Today, you're in for a big treat. We are having a chat with Mary Katsidis. Mary has been in our mentoring program for a long time. She's a friend, and I just sprung this on her last minute, and I don't really think she was up for it, but this will be an absolutely fabulous chat. And for those listening who wonder what it's like when life throws you a curveball and you want to be a property developer, you're going to be inspired by Mary's story. Let's jump on into episode 238. Hello, welcome to episode 238. Today's episode's a little bit different. It's not about fast wins or big numbers. It's about timing, grief, courage, or even as I say grief, I get the lump in my throat, and what it looks like to keep moving forward when life doesn't go to plan. Today I'm sitting down with Mary, a woman who joined our mentoring program at a time when most people would have put every single dream they had on hold. Shortly after losing her husband, Mary made the decision to continue with something that she had dreamed of, and that was property development. Not because she was ready, because she certainly wasn't, but because she knew she didn't want to stop living. So what followed wasn't a rush into projects at all. It was a lot of scooping up and encouraging for Mary, but a period of healing, support, and community. Mary gave herself the space to grieve, to rebuild confidence, and to find her feet again with people beside her the whole way. So in this conversation, Mary shares her journey, what it's been like, the emotional side of starting life again, the importance of belonging, the friendships she's built, and what it's been like to step into a project when the time finally did feel right and the universe aligned for her. This episode is more than property development. It's about honouring a dream, trusting your own timing, and discovering that it's never too late to begin again. So let's set the scene. Who is Mary? For people listening, Mary, who don't know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about you and where you were in life before you found Property Mastermind?
Hi, Hilary. Thank you so much for having me on. Bit of a shock, yes, wasn't expecting it. I've always enjoyed property, have loved it, have always done little dabbles in it. Previously, before joining Property Mastermind, I had done some other courses, quite a few of them, and learnt a lot of items along the way. But as you said, my husband did pass away back in 21. Everything was on hold for a little bit of time. And then I got to the stage where I thought I have to do something, otherwise the grief's just going to kill me. And I knew of Bob's course, so I did a little bit of research and connected with you. And it's been the best decision I've ever made.
Oh, so good, Mary. What was life like for you around that time, emotionally and practically?
Emotionally, it was difficult. It was right in the middle of COVID, so it was difficult because of the isolation of COVID. I'm very fortunate that I have an amazing family around me, children and grandchildren, and so they're always a massive support. However, I needed to continue my property journey, and I felt that the time was right to start property development. And what I found was so amazing with yourself, Hilary, and with Bob, is the fact that you were there as mentors, as tutoring me, and also hand-holding, which is something you don't get anywhere else. If you remember, Hilary, for that first year, you were my grief counsellor. Our weekly calls that we had was basically you assisting me and helping me how to keep going, and I just found that invaluable. So it was a two-pronged approach where I was learning all the stuff that Bob would be teaching, all the technical side of things through the online program, and then the mentoring, the one-on-one with you, what was invaluable. And I think the mentoring program that I signed up for was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Mm. Mary, I remember those days. I do remember. And on occasion, it's not all clients that I talk to every week. I mean, as you know, you can talk to me as often as you want, but you and I did have a weekly call, and I do remember it was often just getting you to just take a little step. There was just all those little encouragements to keep you moving forward. I do remember. Um, so that we talked about it before we had record on the podcast. You said that, so you and Mike had talked about property development, and he was not really into it, was he? It was really it was a Mary thing, but he did want you to carry on. So the reason for you moving forward at the time you did, because most people may not, they would have waited and waited, and crikey, we've all got enough reasons to wait. Do you think that was because of the support that you'd had from Mike?
Yes, definitely, because he always wanted me to continue along this path. But sometimes when you're grieving, if you allow yourself to wallow in that grief, you can end up becoming very, very stuck. So I found that I had to do something. You still grieve. I mean, that continues on for years, as most people know who have lost anybody, whether it's a parent, a spouse, and hopefully never a child, obviously. But the grief just doesn't stop. It can go for many, many years. But you need to keep yourself busy, and you need to keep moving forward for your own sanity.
So what was going through your mind at the point when you decided I'm doing it? Like, what was going through for you?
Look, at the time, you're quite scared when you're going to move forward with something like property development. It is the pinnacle of all, property that you can do, and there is risk involved. So you have to actually be taught by the best to know what to do to move forward so that you don't make any mistakes. And I found that the accessibility of having yourself and Bob there every step of the way really helped. It really helped me just to be able to feel confident that if I found a site that I needed some help with, I could text you or talk to Bob or whatever the case may be. Not everyone offers that.
No, and just so you know I'm not leading these questions, so Mary's coming to these conclusions. Did you feel like joining at the time that you did was more an emotional one, or was it a logical one, or was it a little bit of both, Mary? How was that for you?
Look, I'd say it's a bit of both. I'm normally a fairly logical, structured person, but at the time, my emotions were all over the place as well. So it was probably a little bit of both.
I think when I reflect back, sometimes things might have taken you a bit longer than others to do, but I think that was just that whole. It was almost, if you can imagine, someone with really heavy legs and they have to move one leg, and then have to move. The natural phase of walking wasn't so easy. What kind of support did you need most, do you think, in the process?
It was two-pronged, to be honest. I did need the support that you offered, which was more a counselling support. And there were times when I was a bit slow that you'd give me, a kick up the backside to get me moving. So that really helped because you continually inspired me to keep moving forward. Because of my trepidation about the whole journey, I found that having Bob available to help with the technical side of things was invaluable. That really did help me, whether it was calling him to review a feasibility, whether it was sending him the contracts to review to make sure that I was on the right path, and just his knowledge was invaluable.
I actually remember Bob being on a Zoom session with you once, and we had a mentoring student with a site that needed to settle, and the bank wasn't going to get there on time. We had to hang up. I walked up and said, Bob, that money, the finance wasn't going to make it, and there was no extension clause, or maybe we'd already had it, or the mentoring students. So Bob and I actually went and settled for the mentoring students with our own money. I remember that because I can picture it. It was a Zoom session, and I just walked straight into it. He was in the dining room. It wasn't when we lived where we do now. I can actually see that really clearly. So how important was it for you that you weren't alone? Because as you know, property development can be a bit of a lonely journey, Mary. Was it really useful, like feeling like you weren't alone? Because you've still, you've got your family around you and they're close, and you have the grandchildren where you were at that time, and you had a bit of work going on. What was going on?
You sort of compartmentalize your life a little bit, and you've got your family and you've got your issues, or not issues, but what you need to deal with within your home environment. And then obviously most people have work as well, that whether it's full-time or a few days a week, whatever that may be. And then you have your dream, which is, for me, was property development. And so obviously in order to progress with that dream, you've got to go down the steps. I found the workshops, the boot camps were good. As you know, I've been to about 4 so far, and every year you meet up with people that you've met before. You discuss your progress. You learn. You meet with the newbies, and they're always eager to learn and to absorb all the stuff that all the oldies have gone through, and what their journey's been. So I found it's a real community. The weekly Q&As that you guys have is good because you'll see the same people on there with questions and one thing and another. So there's a lot on offer, and you don't feel alone.
I do love having Mary at the workshop. I always get the opportunity to say, well, there's just something about Mary at every single workshop, and loads of fun. You do come along. Mary likes a glass of wine, so we usually have a glass of wine before, during, and after. That's pretty standard, isn't it, Mary? And I think when we had a workshop, remember the workshop down in Melbourne, we probably had a couple too many the day before. That was quite a bit of fun. But anyway, what does keep you coming back to the workshops, Mary? Because you must get to the point where you could, you're repeating stuff. Do you always pick up something new every time?
Yes. Yeah. While obviously a lot of it, the technical stuff it is what it is. Whether you're talking about the feasibilities, the patches, all the the DAs, everything that's involved with that. But there's always something new that you pick up. You listen to other people's experiences, and you can pick up things from them. Because Bob and yourself are also doing development, and one of the things that I love about the boot camps is Bob's stories, because he has 40 years of stories to say, and there's always some new story that comes up because of what you guys have gone through in the last year. I find it's a good place to network, to find JV partners if you need it, and quite a few of those mentoring students, we do keep in contact through the year. You will message each other. Unfortunately, a lot of the times we're living in different states, but we still keep in contact.
How important is that to you, Mary, that you can just reach out if you want to? Because life does get busy, and we like the idea of networking and keeping in touch, but then it's so easy to go back to our normal habits and behaviours of doing what we always do.
You do need to make an effort. It doesn't come naturally to a lot of people. And I know with myself, being basically a tad shy, I do need to really push myself to come out of my shell to network with people. But then after a while, it just becomes second nature, and you tend to find it easy. And I find also with the things that we learn, say, for example, when you're looking for your site and you've got to meet and talk with agents, a lot of the times people say a lot of bad things about agents, but they can be quite valuable. I find that just in constantly meeting with them at open homes, I have managed to find so many good contacts. They've put me in contact with builders. They've put me in contacts with building designers. If I go into a new duplex, for example, I'll ask them who the stylist was if what I see I like, and then you gather all this information just through networking, and you slowly build up your A team.
Do you know what, Mary? What's really interesting about that is you have to have that knowledge behind you and the competence to be able to ask those questions. And I think that that's what people don't realize is I often use the word articulate. Until you can articulate and to fully understand what you need to know, so you know what to ask, because that I find that that's a really big thing that people probably don't give enough weight to, is realizing the competence they need to have before the confidence. With the competence, start taking those steps, the confidence will grow. But so often people don't realize that the value of really fully understanding the process. And now, as it's taken you to where you are now, which we'll get to shortly. But Mary, how at this stage in life did you ever think that you would be Mary in nanny years? There's many of us in nanny years. I'm in nanny years. Mary in nanny years would be able to say, I'm a property developer. And I remember saying to you, Mary, you have to say I'm a property developer. And you go, oh, I can't say it.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I never thought I would. I'm so grateful that I am where I am with this journey, because it's like I'm on a springboard now, and the best is yet to come. And I think there's a lot of people who probably say this. I wish I knew 20, 30 years ago what I know now, and I had started earlier. But at least I've started. And so I'm looking forward to the coming years. Yeah.
That's exactly it, Mary. At least you started, and you wish. Most people say, "I wish I started earlier," and for some, we don't know the reasons. Well, we kind of do. We all give ourselves excuses. I just think for you, you're so unique, and you're such an inspiration, because you started at a point. I often say that, Mary. You started at a point in your life where most people would have just not. It was such a heavy point for you, and you've gone ahead and now you are a property developer, and you can say it, which is really exciting. So when was that moment for you, Mary, when you went from like the learning of it to almost, I'm ready now, and to actually moving forward? Because sometimes people can move forward, and I do see this a lot, that they're moving forward, but really they're not. They've still got the brakes on. So when did your brakes come off and you're like, it is now? And I probably know the answer to this, that other side that you missed out on. But was that when it started?
I had a few false starts, as you know. I have probably done hundreds of feasibilities, and a lot of them ended up in the bin. But it was so good to do them, and because every one you do, you're learning a little bit more. You learn to populate it with all the different costs that are in there, and eventually, as time progresses, you learn more about what's involved. And it's only through sometimes missing out on some of them that you become even you're more ready to move forward. And I found my joint venture partner, my business partner that I'm doing my deal with, she's very much a silent partner in the background. And she has said to me a few times, when we first joined up, the way you were talking then and the way you're talking now is so different. She said the confidence that you're speaking with, your knowledge has increased incredibly. So I hear that from her. And while you don't realize it yourself, when someone else tells you that, you think, oh, maybe I am progressing and maybe I am learning. Yeah.
Please, Mary. Please. The other Mary, I think you used to cry just about every first session we used to talk initially. It was, you're just another woman now, and it's just so inspirational. And I think that when people believe that property developers are builders or they're all men, or that they just come from all walks of life, and you really are seriously a woman charging ahead. So what do you believe gave you that confidence? Do you looking back now, you can see there's been a change. Do you remember a point where you just felt like, I got it?
I think after the initial year or so where I just kept looking for sites, and then after losing a particular site, as you know, when you remember how upset I was when I called you because I thought that was going to go ahead. I then made the decision to change patches, move to another patch, took all my knowledge, but I had to start again because I had to then learn a new patch. I had to form relationships with all these new agents, and that can take a little bit of time. You know, every Saturday you're pounding the pavements, going from open home to open home. And I always made an effort to speak with agents and get them to know me. I'd call them regularly to see if they had anything coming up. And then the numbers started to stack up slowly, which they hadn't done before. I don't know whether it was a shift in the economy. I don't know if it was the different patch, but numbers started to stack. And then everything lines up. You know, your finance lines up. You find the right people to do it. You find the right builder. It all just sort of aligns, and you're ready to go. Yeah, you're ready to go.
And where are you at now, Mary? I know construction is very well underway from the last photos you text me. Where are we at now?
Yes. So at the moment, I'm building a duplex for anyone who not aware of it. So the duplex at the moment, we've done the frame, we've done the roof, the cladding's gone up, outside's been painted. Today the insulation's going in. The duprocking is starting on Wednesday, and hoping to have them on the market by the end of March. All going well. Hopefully there'll be no more rain. I've lost about a month because of the rain last year, but so far so good.
And your patch isn't exactly near you, so you are developing away, same state, but quite away from you. How often are you getting there and having a good look around, Mary?
I actually make an effort to go down weekly. You know, it takes me just over an hour and a bit to get down there. But I make an effort of going every week. Yes, I took that month break over Christmas, but I make an effort to go every week to go on site. I get to know the carpenters and the bricklayers and whoever's there. They've all met me and I've met them. And then I make an effort to meet with the builder at least every week. I just find it's good to be on top of it. But that's only because I have the time to do it. I mean, if people are working full time, they may not be able to get down there as often as I do. But I'm fortunate that I have the time to do that.
And Mary, how is the experience now? You know, if you were to reflect back from, you know, when we had our first conversation about you wanting to be a property developer to now, how has that shaped you?
I have changed a lot. I'm finding I am a lot more confident. I have plans, obviously, for what I want to try and achieve over the next 5 years. I have my 5-year plan in place. And so it's all coming to fruition as well. You know, we all write our goals and aspirations at the beginning of every year, and we check them as we, go along the year. And sometimes they happen and sometimes they don't. But now I'm confident that, my 5-year plan will come to fruition.
Do you think, Mary, that this is, you've just said confidence, and I love the fact that you have plans and goals because, that just ticks my boxes. But do you think this has given you confidence in other areas of your life?
Yes, the confidence does spill into other areas, even in the way that you talk to people. Whether it's your accountant, whether it's your solicitor, whether it's your broker, your financier. When you know what you're doing, you speak a lot more confidently. And it's interesting that even my broker, sometimes when he sends me all these spreadsheets with all these numbers and I actually understand what's going on. And he actually says to me, very few people really know what I send them, but you seem to know what's going on.
Oh, you're such a rock star. That's so, and even those little things from people that you wouldn't expect to be saying things like that. How does it feel to actually be building something for yourself? When you stand in front of it, what does that feel like, Mary?
Look, it's amazing. It really is. I can't stop taking photos. I just keep taking photos from all different angles. And when you look at it, and initially it was just a vacant block of land, and then you slowly see the slab go down, and then you see the frame go up, and then slowly it starts, then the internals start. It is an amazing feeling, and you look at it and you think, oh my God, that's mine.
I'm doing that. How many years ago was it that you decided you wanted to develop property? Before, I know you've done other, like you said, you've done other courses, but was it how long before you even started joining other people's programs? How long ago was it that being a property developer?
It was a while ago. I probably did my first property course probably in about 2017, and I did a few along the way. And one of the courses that I did spoke about property development, but the depth that they went into didn't give me confidence. And then when I sort of learnt about Bob, and having done his course now, it is so structured, it is so detailed. And for someone who's not sure about what to do, it actually teaches you what to do. You know, all his, as part of the course, all the sheets that he has together about the questions to ask a town planner, the questions to ask an agent, the questions to ask your financier, your accountant, all of those things. He lists all of that. And literally, even if you just follow his cheat sheets, you'll sort of know how to move along the process. But then having done the mentoring program as well, then that's that extra layer of support for people who need hand-holding.
And Mary, you've got family, children, grandchildren. What did your family say when you said, I'm going to be a property developer? And they're like,
I think they thought I was a bit crazy to start with.
Are they inspired now?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And we're actually talking about possible things to be doing in the future together as a family. So they are getting inspired by this journey.
I spoke to another mentoring student this week, Tom, and he said he's gone to market with a couple of sites, and the third one is just about to go. And he said it's interesting now, all these people are coming out, including some family members, like, I'm keen to do something with you. It's funny how it's once you get started, then they will come. Maybe they're just, people don't believe that you.
Exactly. That you're able to do it, yes. And one of the things that I find, and I'm hoping to be able to do, is that you leave a legacy. You do your development. Initially you'll build, you'll sell, but then eventually you'll start to build and retain some. And so therefore, what you're achieving is multi-generational change. And then you're leaving behind a legacy that can assist your children and your grandchildren. And that can be a driving factor as well, to be able to do that.
Is that your driving factor, Mary?
Yes. Yeah, two things. One, I want to be able to travel because I love travel. And also to leave, to build and to leave something behind for my family.
Both figuratively and literally.
Yes.
to leave something behind. So if you were speaking to somebody, actually, do you ever meet people that sort of go, what? You're doing property development? Do you ever meet those sort of people? Maybe they're more likely going to be at your Pilates class that you go to or something like that. Do they sort of give you the side eye, or?
I think people look at you in amazement to think that you're actually doing it. I don't think they look at me as, are you for real? They sort of look and go, oh my God, that's pretty amazing what you're doing. So I think it does leave people, aghast that, Mary can do this sort of stuff.
There's just something about Mary. How many times have I said it? There's just something about you, Mary. What about if you were to reflect back, what would you feel life would have been like now after Mike passed away? If you didn't go down this road, how do you think it would have been?
Very different in that when you try and do things on your own and you haven't been educated properly, then you can make mistakes. And so your progress is slowed. And I think I've said this to you a couple of times, that when you get to the age that I am, and I'm not saying I'm old, but I don't have the luxury of being 20 years old and making a mistake and then having 30 odd years to recover from it. So every step that I took had to be measured and calculated to make sure that, as much as possible, you try to minimise all risks. And because I had you and Bob there as my sounding boards, I felt confident to do that. I think if I was on my own and I was sort of going to sites, and I look, knowing what I know now, if I'd gone on my own to buy a site and to try and do something, there are so many things that could have gone wrong, so many things, and you would end up being further back. One may have lost a lot of money, whereas if you have education, if you have structure, and you know the steps that you need to go down for a property development, there are less chances of things going wrong.
What would you say to somebody who thinks they're too old?
You're never too old. No, you're never too old. No, I'll be going till I'm 100.
What would you say to somebody, and it's probably the same thing, that you didn't, and I'm not going to say allow grief to be a reason not to get started, but interestingly, you wished you'd done it earlier. So during your life, there had been other things that you had allowed not to get you started. Why do you think this time, and at that time, why do you think that was the reason to go forward finally?
I think when you're still raising a family, it is a lot harder. And I didn't know about a lot of the things that I learned, because I actually sort of stopped work first and started some of the courses, and then I went back to work. And then once you know what's out there, once you know what you can do, then you want to do it. You just want to do it. And I have a passion and a love for property. It's my thing. It might not be everybody else's thing. And so I just wanted to move ahead, and I'm so glad that I did.
Mary, when you went through the education and you'd learned lots, what's one little thing that you were like, oh my goodness, I did not know that?
Oh
What was
God.
the biggest one that you think, and it could have been so small, like it was like, are you serious?
I don't know. There were so many, gold nuggets that you get taught as you move along. Yeah, look, I'm not really sure. I think, yeah, there was too many, and whether it's the initial bit of finding a patch, and then finding your financier, getting a JV partner. If I think one of the main things that Bob does and teaches is just finding investors if you don't have the money to do it yourself, because a lot of the times people can't move forward no matter how much they want to. And there are people who have lazy money lying around they don't know what to do with, and they're happy to be passive investors where they just invest in what you're doing, and then you can move forward, and then everybody benefits at the end.
Mary, and that is such a gold nugget, because that's probably a lot of what I do with the Property Mastermind mentoring students, is that investment stuff and talking through and encouraging people. But I feel their disbelief in themselves, and that just rolled off your tongue so perfectly, because you absolutely believe it. And once you do believe that there's heaps of people with lazy money around, and people will invest with you, and you're doing it right now, and this is your first development, and you're not a 35-year-old builder, it is so possible. And I loved the confidence that you had in just saying that. So you really did embrace that. So my last question, Mary, is when you look back at the woman who joined shortly after her husband passed away, what would you say to her now?
I'm very proud of that person because I persevered, and I kept moving forward. So I'm proud of myself for that. When I see my duplex being built, and I look at it and I sort of think, was that me doing that? Yeah, I give myself a pat in the back.
Yeah, me too. Oh, like seriously, it's emotional for me. You've just had such an amazing journey, Mary.
Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. So I'll wind this one up, Mary. Thank you for trusting us with your story. It's a beautiful reminder that when life changes suddenly, it doesn't mean that your story's over. If something in Mary's journey has inspired you, the timing, the courage, or simply the feeling of not wanting to do things alone, just know that you're not the only one. If you feel like you're in Mary's shoes, and I'm sure there will be so many people who listen to this podcast and think, oh, okay, so I'm not by myself. And I'm sure at the time Mary did feel a little bit alone. And at some point, if you feel like reaching out and having a conversation or learning more about what we do, you feel free to reach out. There's a link below the podcast. No pressure, no expectations, just when the time's right for you. So, Mary, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your journey with us. It wasn't as scary as you thought. We wish you the best 5-year success plan ever. And I see you in the workshop in May on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I don't know if you're coming, but
Not sure yet.
Not sure, but that is our next workshop. I would love to see you there. All right, everybody, we'll catch you next week. Bye for now.